Good evening, and welcome to Creative Broadcasting, the station of unlimited possibilities, presents Creating Your Seat at the Table with your host, Ashley Little, as she welcomes her guest to the table.
Welcome to Creating Your Seat at the Table. I am your host, Ashley Little. A little bit about myself: corporate professional by day, entrepreneur by night, three-time best-selling author, CEO and founder of Ashley Little Enterprises, LLC, owner and creator of Creative Broadcasting, and co-founder and owner of Talk Radio and TV Network, LLP. Tonight we have an amazing guest by the name of Magdalina, Sylvain. During Magdalena's journey to find her bad boy Christian, she had to overcome many serious heartbreaks that occur when dating as well as fornicating, all while striving to be a good Christian woman. Magdalena herself, along with no one available that could relate to her trials or encourage her by letting her know she was still worthy of finding love and getting married. Magdalena shares real personal and dating life experiences that she endured all while striving to be a good Christian woman. She holds nothing back, and despite heartbreaks, rejections, and constant disappointments from men, Magdalena continued to take gallons of faith, believing that her bad boy Christian existed. Magdalena was able to overcome some restrictions that were holding her back using some simple principles she discovered on her journey, and was able to attract her bad boy Christian. She thought she would never surface within a year. She now uses those principles to help support and encourage Christian women to overcome their deceptions, which will position them to lie their way to their altar. Magdalena's goal is to create a community who are striving in all ways to remain enlightened about who they truly are and defeat their deceptions. Always red. Welcome to the table, the amazing Magdalena.
Hi, Ashley. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you on the show. And I'm honored and humbled for you to share your amazing story with my listeners. So tell us about your entrepreneur journey.
Well, that's actually a funny story. I prayed for an entrepreneur as a husband, but I never thought to myself that I would be an entrepreneur. My goal was to just write a book and, out of pure love, help women get over what I wanted to overcome in my life. And it was my husband that pointed out that I should make it a business because I was helping so much women, and he's the one that showed me how to make it a business, you know? So, but how do you do that if, you know, you're not in that entrepreneurial mindset? And what I discovered is that I always keep my mind focused on my why. My why is the fact that I hurt and I was in a lot of pain, and my journey helped me overcome it using my steps. So when I focus on those things, that naturally attracts other women to me, you know, which is love. And it's in that love that helps me continue on to my success. Everything else is just a byproduct. So pretty much just focusing on the love in my why, and which is helping other women. And through that, I let God just lead me. And that's how I am and who I am and where I am right now. I just keep focusing on that love. Yeah. So never take your eye off that.
Yes, and thank you for creating that space for our women to be able to be vulnerable and be open about the different things that they're going through in their relationships. Because that's good to know, because sometimes people don't feel safe sharing those vulnerable moments, you know. So thank you for creating that space.
Oh, no, it's my pleasure. It was kind of out of obligation. God spoke to my heart, and as hard and difficult it was for me, it's kind of always hard to be for me it was in my family too, to just put my life and my business out there. But I just looked at the greater good, and if that meant sacrificing my privacy to help someone else, then it was all worth it. So
I love
because
So, Magdalena, please tell us more about your passion to help women overcome their deceptions and position themselves.
Oh, my goodness, Ashley. Okay, so that's an awesome question. So what happened was during my journey, right, here I am. I'm looking for this bad boy Christian. That's what I wanted, right? And God says if you ask for a fish, he's not going to go ahead and give you a snake, right? So I honed in on that scripture. And what happened was a lot of times women like to blame the other party as why it didn't work out. You know, they never really want to look at themselves. So as I journeyed on, I realized that I was constantly the common denominator. So it forced me to have to look at myself and my life. And I discovered that I had a lot to attribute to the bad relationships. And, so then I realized that I was holding on to a whole lot of lies, which I like to call limited ideas entrapped in our subconscious or spirit. And what happens is we hold on to these lies, and every decision we make are based to feed those lies, even in our relationships. So if you're holding on to a lie that you're not marriage material, you subconsciously sabotage that relationship that you're in, and that's what happens. You don't become marriage material for that particular guy. So I help women discover these lies, and I help them replace those lies with a new lie. And hopefully they will hold on to that lie, the new lie, and it becomes their truth. So my passion, and you can't move on. As long as you keep holding on to these lies, you can't move on because you're like in an abusive cycle with yourself. You can't see the future the way you want it to see it because these lies are holding you back. So that's how I do that. So my goal is to help women figure that out in order they can attract their amazing spouse or an amazing, helpmate. So that's how I work that one out.
So with your clients, what are some different lies that you've seen that was holding some of your clients back from, experiencing the relationship that they want or desire?
So there is one woman, I was actually speaking with her the other day. She was comparing herself. She's in a relationship, right? And she's comparing herself to social media, the women that are portrayed on social media. And she's like a prisoner of social media. And she's a little heavier, beautiful though. She has a beautiful spirit, great energy, a very lovable person. And she finds herself constantly thinking, I got to lose weight to keep him. I got to lose weight to hold on to him, thinking that her outer beauty is what's going to hold on, is what's going to keep this guy to stick around, which is a lie. It's not true. You understand? I had made one of the things that I learned, as I was going through my journey was I thought that my good credit and me having my own condo at the age of 25 and that I was beautiful, that reason I'm a great commodity. Why can't I find a husband and then I have no kids? You understand what I mean? That was a lie. By the time I met my husband, my credit was shot. I still had the condo. I was cute. You understand what I mean? But what made my husband fall in love with me was the fact that I loved myself and God first. Who would have thought? He didn't care that I had bad credit. He didn't care about any of those things. So we tend to put these pressures on us based on society and what society thinks is good or normal or important. And it's all not true, especially if you're a Christian woman. What really matters is who you are in your heart. And if you believe that, you will naturally attract that guy that will see that beauty inside. But you have to believe it first. Because how can he see it if it's drowned in a bunch of lies? He's seeing all the other things that's coming out instead. So that's how I help my women as well.
And loving, you said a lot of nuggets, and just speaking about that, because loving yourself is definitely important. Putting God first and loving yourself, that's so important. That's number one, number key to that. So Magdalena, congratulations on your new book. So let's talk about your book.
Thank you. Okay, so the name of my book is called How I Lied My Way to the Altar and Now I'm Happily Married. And every time I tell somebody that title, they look at my husband like, are you okay with that? Like, lied her way to the altar, But it's catchy. But in essence, I kind of did that, but not the way people might think, the superficial way, like actually lied. What happened was, what's cool, I decided to write my book 13 years ago. I was so desiring a husband and someone to love me, and God finally had pointed out the one thing that I was doing that's stopping my husband from surfacing, right? So when he pointed that out to me, I completely immersed myself in him. And this is when I started to realize that I needed to love myself. I realized I didn't love myself, right? And I thought I was loving God, but I wasn't loving him the way I thought I should be loving him. So the book for me was like an action part. God, I love you so much, and I believe your words so much that I'm going to write the first half of my book knowing that you're going to give me a husband. So out of the expectation of who I know God is to be in my life, and he says he's not a God who should lie, right? So I wrote the first half of my book, journaling pretty much all the experiences that I dealt with. And I went in on this book because I didn't have anyone to speak to. I couldn't go to my pastor and tell her I was fornicating and tell her all the dirty little things that I was doing behind closed doors, or the what we call demons that I was fighting with. You understand what I mean? A lot of times pastors can't share these things with you because they have an image to uphold. So who do you speak to about these things? So God put in my heart to discuss these issues that I had so that other women could see that they are not alone. There is someone who went through the same thing or is going through the same thing, and I was able to find my way out of it, and there was light at the tunnel. You understand what I mean? So that was the reason why I wrote my book. It was a very difficult book to write in that sense. I actually had to ask permission from my husband out of the love for him, because I am detailing so many secrets in there. But it was, again, why was I doing this? Is out of the love to help other women. I could not sit here knowing the pain and the hurt that I went through, the sleepless nights of, God, where's my husband? Why did this guy reject me? Why didn't he call me, And it hurt. It hurt so much. And I had no one to speak to. So God told me to write the book as a tool to help other women. And I did. And I was obedient. And then 10 years later, after I wrote the book, I finally was able to complete it, 13 years in all. So that, to me, is the awesome thing about this book. It took me 13 years to complete it because I had to wait to meet the husband and write in the testimony. So my book is a living testimony to God, a living testimony to anyone who doubts God and his words, because he's, like I said, not a God who shall lie. And what you put in is what you're going to get out. So what you put in your relationship with God is exactly what you're going to get out. And I want to show women he's so real, and their spouse is so real, but it has to start from within.
I want to ask you a couple of questions without revealing too much from your book, because I know we want people to go buy the book, because I definitely love the title. You said, I want to know the different, for you to show the listeners the different strategies that you took, because I know you said you met your husband within a year. So what are some of the different strategies that you took to find your way out of it when you started writing your book, to be able to share with the world what was going on? What are some of the strategies that you took?
Well, okay, so one of the strategies I took, I just went over it, was in faith, I started to write the book, right? So walk by faith and not by sight, right? So that was the scripture that God talked about. So I walked by faith and not by sight. So I decided to write the book, and I let it sit in my computer until God sent me my husband. Another thing that I did was, a lot of people looked at me like I was crazy. I bought my wedding dress. But I didn't just buy my wedding dress. I didn't buy a $100 wedding dress and then let it sit in the closet. And then when I met my husband, I went and bought another wedding dress. That defeats the purpose, okay? I bought the wedding dress. I went with my mother to David's Bridal, and I bought the wedding dress, had it hemmed, told the lady that, yes, I am getting married next year. You understand? I didn't tell the whole truth about the date. And because, mind you, I had no boyfriend. I had no prospect in sight, nothing. Yeah. So, and my mother held on to that dress until I got married to my husband. So I didn't just pretend it. I actually lived it. You understand? And I've made the next big strategy that a lot of people tend to struggle with is living in the future. Every decision that I made was as if I was already married. And for instance, I could have been in a movie, okay? And I signed a contract to be in this movie. But this movie required me to be pose naked and have nude scenes. And as I started to delve into the script, I realized this isn't going to work for me. I'm going to have a husband one day. I'm going to have children one day. What am I going to tell them? So I had a choice to make. Do I continue on this journey for the fame and the glory, or do I sacrifice this because I'm believing in a different future and how will it affect my future? So I made my decision based on me already in that future. And that is one of the biggest struggles that a lot of my clients have because they can't, I don't know I guess it's hard for them to fathom that it works, but it does. And I've applied these strategies to like almost everything in my life, and it works. So it works.
Okay, I love it. How you prepared and positioned yourself, right? So for listeners, she prepared and positioned herself for what she wanted, and it manifested. So I love some of the principles that you took to do that, Magdalina, because I'm sure you're going to be helping some listeners out tonight that desire to meet their husband, desire for marriage, You have to prepare and position yourself for that. I love it.
Yes, you do. You have to do that.
Yeah. So what are some strategies you would give to women who are overcoming serious heartbreaks and are trying to find love?
So for me, one of the biggest things that I did, and, it's very cliche, I guess, but it is what it is. The truth is the truth. The principle is the principle, right? Whenever you find yourself, you're hurting. So my women, my ladies, my girls, my friends that are out there that are struggling and they're hurting, right? And they're in heartbreaks and they're looking for this love. You got to let it go. You got to forgive that person. You got to forgive them, and not only forgive them, bless them, wish them well. Pray that God bless them with an amazing woman, an amazing spouse, because that is what you, in essence, want for yourself. They want that spouse. They want that husband. Look at that person because God loves them too. You understand what I mean? Even though they hurt you, God still loves them, So you don't want to wish them bad. You want to wish them well. You want to pray. Also in that, you want to make sure that that positions you to now be open for love and receive love. So forgiveness is the bottom line. And if you don't do that, you're not going to be open to get anything back. Does that make sense? Did I explain that well,
yes.
Ashley? And
yes,
that's simple. It really is that simple,
Because forgiveness, that's so important. We have to be able to forgive in order to move on. And we have to be able to forgive for us, right? Not for that person, for us. And then, like you stated, be able to position ourselves. So I'm loving that because that's key, especially for us, for listeners that are going through different heartbreaks, that might be going through different relationship problems. You have to forgive the person. So thank you for sharing that, Magdalena. Very good strategy.
Right. And then it also, so I was going to say you don't want to hold on to that negativity because then you're going to bring back negativity to you as well. That's another reason why you want to forgive that other person, because, again, we're all energy, and when you're holding on to negative thoughts and it just repels the good to come to you. So it's really important to let it go and don't take it personal. A lot of women tend to take heartbreaks and the rejection personal. But again, you got to look outside of yourself and let it go. And look at it as, it's just a decision. It just didn't work out. It's that simple.
And, sometimes that's easier said than done for people. So could you talk a little bit more about that? Because, when you're in that space sometimes with the rejection and the heartbreak, you have to be, everybody's human, right? So, naturally you're going to be hurt. You're going to have those different emotions and things like that. And it takes you a couple of different seasons, sometimes some different storms to really be like, okay, that's it wasn't meant for me. I need to move on. I need to, stay focused. How do you get to that point, though, for somebody to feel stuck in those different emotions?
That's a great question. So I could give you, I will not ask my clients to do anything that I had not been able to do, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll give you an example. There was a boyfriend of mine, right? We met, we hit it off. Everything was going great. Oh, my goodness. We fell in love in like a month, right? In like 3 minutes. Let's keep it real. I fell in love with him in like 3 minutes, okay? I'm in love with this guy, right? And he did tell me in the beginning, so this is, women have to listen and look at the whole picture. And men give us clues. Like, they give you the clues, but we tend to be oblivious, and we want what we want, and we ignore those clues, okay? So the guy tells me he got out of a relationship, but it's over. He was in the relationship for 3 years, okay? So then now he's all into me. He's telling me he loves me, and everything is amazing, right? So then 6 months later, okay, not a month later, 2 months later, 6 months later of us loving each other. And when I say loving each other, we were having sex, right? Because to me, that's I in my past equated love for sex. I did not know the difference. I thought I had to have sex in order to keep these guys around as well. So even though in my heart I didn't want to, okay? So next thing you know, he calls me, doesn't come and see me. He calls me out the blue and tells me, I'm sorry to tell you this, but it's over. And he broke up with me.
Oh, wow.
No notice, nothing, nothing. I'm like, what happened? Well, my ex called me, and she said she wants to try and work it out, and I want to see if it'll work. I can't just walk away from what we had. It was 3 years, and that was it. That he just walked away. And my life went down the drain. Like, my whole world fell apart at that moment. You understand? I was angry. I was frustrated. I hated him. I couldn't understand. We just had a great, amazing relationship. We were together literally every single day. Who does that? I questioned God. Do you love me? Why would you allow this to happen to me? Here I am now, a born-again Christian. I'm trying to do right. Yeah, I know I'm fornicating. I'm sorry. I'm working on that. But why? Am I that bad of a person? Don't I deserve better? These are all the questions that you're asking yourself, you know. And it was as hard as it was for me, I had to, like, step out of the situation. And I don't know why I knew this when I knew this, because this was like 16 years ago. I was younger. I don't want to tell my age and like that, you know. But I just knew I had to forgive him. I just knew to just let it go, in the sense of not be angry, in the sense of I was wishing him bad. You know, we could be angry, but then I didn't wish him bad. You understand? And then I actually said, okay, I pray that everything works out for you. So what happens was, what I was doing is, even though I didn't feel it on the inside, I verbally said it. God bless you, and I hope it works out. I wished him well, even though I was hurting on the inside. And what happens is, your mind eventually starts to connect with your heart, and it becomes real. You really want that for that person. You understand? And that helps you get over your hurt. You understand what I mean? You not hating him and you wishing him well helps you get over your hurt, believe it or not, because you're walking in love. You're not walking in anger. And then, again, remembering it was just a decision. I didn't take it personally. It wasn't anything that I did. It wasn't anything that I wasn't, because a lot of women tend to do that too. They try to live up to someone else's expectations. No, it was just a decision that the man made. It was that simple. And when you can look at it in the simplicity of that, it makes it so much easier to move on. Don't take it personal. It's a decision, because the guy for you won't gamble with you. The guy for you is going to hold on to you for dear life. He will not think you will be there tomorrow or next year while he finished playing around, you know? And you have to believe that. Again, it's all about what we believe. So I hope that helps with that example.
Yes. For our listeners, it's all about mindset, preparing and positioning ourselves and making sure that we are forgiving and that we are healthy inside and out, because you attract that as well. You have to be healthy inside and out.
Yes.
So, Magdalina, let's talk about your coaching business and how we can, our listeners that might need your services, how they can get in contact with you, how they can support your coaching business. So talk to us about that.
So I touched upon it earlier. Thank you. What I do is I help women who recognize that they are in an abusive cycle with themselves. They already know. They keep going through the same motions with boyfriends. They're in and out. Men might have told them you're needy or you're insecure, you understand? And that they keep ending up with heartbreaks. So I help them. There's a reason why they're doing that. There's a subconscious reason they keep going through that same cycle. I help women identify those lies, and once they identify the lies, I help them replace those lies using scriptures. What does God say about that current situation? And once they replace those lies with those positive scriptures, I call them lies at first because they don't believe it themselves. It's kind of like I wanted to be married. At first, I didn't believe that I was married, even though I'm saying I'm happily married. But eventually, my mind and my heart became one. And now that new lie became my truth. So I help women make their new lie become their truth, to the point where if someone were to tell them you're not marriage material, they'll look at that person like they're crazy. You understand what I mean? It's so ingrained in their heart that you now start to attract this new life that you're believing for, And I stick with them until that truth becomes their true truth. It's like ingrained, and no matter what heartbreak comes their way, they look at it, oh, all right, it's cool, and they keep it moving. So I get them transformed to the point where they're no longer broken, transformed to the point where God is their only idol. God is their first, and everything else will just fall into place where it needs to fall into place, because God's will is to bless you and not hurt you. And when you know that, everything works for you and not against you. You understand? And so I changed their mindset. Things are not happening to you, they're happening for you. And your husband will not come to you, or your spouse, or that healthy relationship will not appear until you're emotionally ready to handle it. Because how fair would it be is if this man is preparing himself, this God, for me, it was my bad Christian boyfriend, right? I wanted him so bad. But how fair would it have been if when he got me, I was that hot mess I was 15 years ago? He would have been disgusted. He would have probably left. So I had to go through all these goods and bads in order to become who I needed to be, to make him hold on to me and say, you're not going anywhere, and that's in essence what happens. So that's how I help my ladies. I help them remain enlightened.
So do you do master classes as well and speaking events?
Yes.
With your services?
Yes, I do master classes. I do coaching, groups coaching, and master classes, and then I do speaking events. I do both, and I have a website, and it's alwaysred.com. I'll spell it out. It's ALLWAYZREDD.com. You can also get access to the first 2 chapters of my book. You can book me on that website. You can also email me from that website, or you can email me directly. And my name is kind of long, but here goes my email at Magdalina, MAGDALINA.alwaysred.com. And again, always is ALLWAYZREDD @gmail.com. At alwaysred.com. Sorry. Did I say that right? Please? Magdalina at alwaysred.com. There's so many letters. I'm working on that email, but it's not up on the platform yet, so that's okay.
So please follow and support her, because she's super amazing. For our listeners that might need her her services, if you're looking to and desire to be married and you are, trying to get over some bad relationships and heartbreak, please reach out to Magdalena and get some coaching from her so she can help you and assist you on creating that space and being able to prepare for your husband. So I'm loving that. So definitely follow and support her.
Yes, that'll be awesome.
So, Magdalena, I ask all of my guests this question. How did you create your seat at the table?
I lied my way to it. I lied my way to the altar. That's how I did it, actually. Again, those same principles that I used to lie my way to the altar is how I lied my way to the table, and I'll tell you how. When I was, I want to say I was in my, I don't remember how old I was. It was in 2005. I made a list of the things that I wanted in my life, right? And at the time, and you might laugh, I had only read, I think, one book other than whatever was required from college. Okay, I wasn't a big book reader. And all of a sudden, I decided to write and say that I wanted to write many books, and I wanted them to be bestsellers. I also wanted to speak to women about God, okay? And what happened was I would read this list all the time, not realizing what I was doing. And next thing you know, it became ingrained in me. And all the decisions I made since then have been based on that future. So subconsciously, I wanted that desire so much, I wrote it. And every decision that I've made since that day I wrote that list has been made for this particular future. And that's how I got my seat at the table, Ashley.
I love it. I love it. You know, I think the title of your book is so catchy, right? And the way you use it, the different principles of how you use it is so interesting. I'm just loving it right now. This is a great interview, So
awesome.
We all have a process on our journey, Magdalena. So what did failure teach you on your journey?
So, okay, failure teaches me, I learned from the lesson, they hurt. It's a punching, it hits you hard in your stomach when you fail. You get disappointed, right? But I'm a big scripture girl, and I find scriptures to help me get out of everything. Oh, my goodness, that's my weapon, right? So I know there's this one scripture that God talks about, let sorrow endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. And I also think about all the bad things that's happened to so many people in the Bible, those parables, those stories, and it all always ended up with good. So when I look at failure, I look at it as an opportunity to learn. What did I do wrong? And I keep it moving. I keep it stepping because I keep my eyes focused on where I need to go. So failure to me is just the opportunity to fine-tune whatever it is that I need to become who I need to be. And that's it. So it's not a failure to me. It's what is it doing for me and not to me. That's how I look at it.
I like that because it's always a lesson, right? Not failure, it's a lesson. So we know you're very successful. So what does success teach you?
Okay. So success, I like that question, right? And it's funny because I'm afraid of it. I still am, of success. And at times I find myself wanting to run away from it. And when I stopped and I asked God, why? And you know this because I start to notice in myself sometimes I try and sabotage certain things. And I realize it's because of the success, And I'm like, why? And you know why I'm so afraid of the success? I don't want to lose the essence of God. I don't want to lose my why. Does that make sense? I want to make sure that I remain humble and true to who I am when I had nothing, true to how I felt when I had nothing, so that way, no matter how big or how successful I am, I could still give that same love. So for me, as far as success, now I'm learning to embrace it. And I always just ask God, help me to remain humble. Help me to remind me the reason behind it, and that is the giving of myself. And the bottom line is to show them who God really is. It's like I'm God's greatest salesman. I want everyone to know how amazing he is, the truth about him, So that's how I've been embracing the success now. I was once afraid of it, but now I'm starting to embrace it and loving the journey. I'm loving it.
Yes, and staying humble is so important, right? And definitely giving God the credit for everything because it's not us, it's never us, it's always him. So, yes, and staying humble is definitely a part of being successful, is making sure you always remain humble. So what can we expect from the amazing Magdalena the rest of 2019? We're getting ready to go in quarter 3, and I know that I follow you and you're doing some great things. So what can we expect from you the rest of 2019?
Well, so right now I'm working on a master class series to help women so that the digital aspect of it, so if they can't get me directly, at least I'll be able to provide the digital seminar or webinar for them. And I'm also working on another book called How I Lied My Way to $1 Million. And so it's everything is a metaphor and the lessons that you learn behind it. So I'm hoping by next year that will be out, and a few speaking gigs. That's what I'm working on right now, and building and networking.
Okay, you know what? Super congratulations on all the great things that you have going on. You're getting ready to write another book about how you lied your way to $1 million. Interesting title. So definitely, please reach out and support her speaking engagements, her new book that is getting ready to come out next year. And, you know, as you continue, like you stated, to network and collaborate and build effective relationships. So, Magdalena, I can't wait to see the great things that God is going to continue to do in your life.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. You're awesome. I think you're like the sweetest queen ever. And I pray that God continue to bless you and your success.
Thank you so much. And thank you. I'm so honored and humbled for you to say that. I appreciate that. And you're just as amazing as well. And like I stated, you're doing some amazing stuff, and I can't wait to continue to see what you're going to do with the book and continue to see how big your brand is going to be, because you're being so vulnerable with it. You're so transparent with it, and you're going to save a lot. You're going to save a lot of lives, because there's a lot of people that are going through different heartbreaks and different relationship problems who desire to be married, and they need to hear these stories of people being vulnerable and being transparent about that. You know, I've been there. I know how you feel, and that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. So thank you for creating that space. So tell our listeners, you are welcome. So tell our listeners one more time how they can follow you on all social media platforms.
So on social media platforms, Magdalina Sylvain, that's Magdalina, Sylvain, Sylvain. I am on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. You can find me there. My website is alwaysred, ALLWAYZREDD.com. And that's where you'll find me. You'll find videos, you'll find blogs, and great encouraging affirmations that you can say every day. And Ashley, you know what? Your platform is awesome, allowing us women to come on and share our story. That's truly like a blessing. I love that you're doing that and how you're building it. And it's your platform. I think that's amazing. I wanted to tell you that.
Thank you so much, Magdalena. Thank you so much. And I look forward to bringing you back on the show before the end of the year. So thank you for coming on here and coming to the table to share your story. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I would like to give a special thanks to Tammy Collins Marquis and John Schamberger. I would also like to give a special thanks to author Kimberly McLemore and Pam Perry, as well as to my interns, Sarah and my intern Tyler, both from Tennessee State University. You all may follow me on Facebook at Ashley Little and on Instagram at _Ashley A. Little. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Creating Your Seat at the Table, where Ashley speaks with corporate professionals, celebrities, entrepreneurs, authors, and speakers who are transitioning or have transitioned to entrepreneurship.